It's crunch time here in the studios of Austin Peay. Reese Britt, Trey Whiteowl, and Dylan Walton here with me today. Christian Hunt is out for this one, but we'll be expecting him back in the near future. Guys, how we doing, first and foremost?
I'm doing pretty good so far this week.
Nice.
Finishing up the final project for me in this, and then I'll be good.
Dang, so you're graduating May, right?
Yep.
Wow. Congratulations, first and foremost, but I know it's been a lot of work.
I'm exhausted,
I don't
both
doubt
physically, mentally, emotionally,
it.
whatever.
Everything
Literally
else,
everything down the page.
Yeah.
Everything down the
works.
page. That's awesome. What about you, Dylan?
I'm not graduating like Trey. You know, he getting that big boy, the big degree.
Yeah.
But I'm graduating in May, so everything's starting to pile up now. They starting to come together, and we knocking them out one by one. So
Nice.
I'm feeling like Trey, but still good, feeling great.
Love it.
Got a lot of hours of sleep last night for the first time in a couple weeks, so we good.
That's good. I know you've you don't usually get to bed on time, but
Yeah.
you like to sleep a little bit. I get
I'm
it.
a midnight owl. I'm
Yeah.
a midnight owl for sure.
I'm a morning person, so we're
and
quite
I'm a white
literally.
owl.
That was bad.
That was good. That was witty. Good. This is a great way to start off the show. But first, I'm good. We the golf team actually goes to Myrtle Beach on Saturday, so I'll be gone from Saturday to Wednesday. So I don't know when the flight is, but I'm going to miss the show next week, which obviously you guys are going to handle business. So I have no doubt you guys will be maybe even better than when I'm on the show. So, but let's get right into it. Let's start with some Austin Peay baseball. We got about 10 to 12 minutes to talk about this. The Base Govs handled their business this past weekend, winning the series. Govs won the first and second game, the first one being a 17-11 and the second one being 14-2, but they did drop the third game. Guys, they dropped that game 12 to 22.
Destroyed.
10-run differential in that game. And,
Wow.
I wanted to bring this up. Where did the pitching go?
That's what I'm saying.
I have no idea.
I mean, last week against Lipscomb, they allowed 12 runs combined in the 3 games, compared to 35 in this past in this past series. And Queens is not a very good ball club.
Not at all.
They at least took the series, though, but
Yeah.
it does not help when you give up 11 runs in the 4th inning. Like,
No.
they could not do anything
And
after that.
I'm curious as to. I've been to a few games. I can't go to everyone. That's impossible.
Sure.
But at this point, I'm concerned if it's the pitching or it's like infielders, outfielders making errors at this point.
Yeah.
Because it's just too many runs. Like it's 16, 12. Somebody put up 20, close to 20 on us a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Let's see. We
I was gonna
have
say, I think he's got the schedule pulled
Auburn
up.
put up 24 on us in
Yep.
the last game of the series. Outside of that, I don't think another team has gotten close to 20 outside of, obviously,
The other night, yeah.
Queens.
But still, it's like, okay, Auburn is that's justifiable, right? Like
Yeah.
you're going
Yeah.
up against an SEC
To a certain
team.
degree, yeah.
Like they're historically a really good SEC team. They're ranked, in the top 25 nationally. But it's like when you give up 22 runs to Queens, and I get it, by the third game, the biggest thing for a mid-major baseball team is pitching. Like you might not have enough pitching deep in the bullpen to get yourself through that third game. But if you want to get to that number 1 spot in the ASUN, you're gonna have to start sweeping a few of these series, And Queens and Lipscomb, they're at the bottom of the conference right now. It's like those were perfect opportunities to get 6 games right there and start out the season 6-0 instead of starting the season out 5-2.
Yeah, 230
4-2.
total pitches for our pitching staff this past last game against the Queens. Josh Howitt only went 1 inning, gave up 4 runs, had 30 total pitches. Kyle Klingenbeck ended up going
right.
2 innings, 6 runs, 43 total pitches. And it did not get better after that.
No.
Like even DJ Merriweather, who only had 10, which was the lowest of the staff, didn't record a single out. Got 3 runs and just 10 pitches, had 1 walk and 2 hits. Everybody on the pitching staff was not that good. And the best contributors were after the score was just so lopsided that it did not really matter.
Yeah, and you know when you have a guy like DJ Merriweather out there on the mound, which he can pitch.
Yeah, he can.
That's not the problem. But that's not his first position. He's an outfield guy with a great bat on him. When I watched some of the scrimmages back in a couple weeks ago, I guess maybe 2 months ago, I guess now February was that when they were doing their opening stuff. But I mean he's got a really good bat on him, and so that the pitching is not his forte, which he can do it, but. You know, I mean, not even, you know, he didn't record a single out against Queens lineup that was, you know, at red hot at the time, but they have not been anywhere close to 22 runs this season.
They have not been.
So.
Then they went up against Ole Miss I think last night.
Last night,
yeah.
And in 2 separate innings, the first and third innings, as we can see, we'll see like the total pitchings in here. We had Trey Spear and a Walker who had a combined 1 total inning, 7 hits, 8 earned runs, and 2 walks.
Yeah.
And as you can see right there, just not a single person outside of Gray and Miller Green that could really do anything on the offensive side of the ball either.
Yeah, I mean when John Gazdar, who, you know, relatively he's going to be your best. You know, your best guy, you know, in the field, but, you know, you also want your shortstop to be able to handle the bat well. And he went 1 for 5. He did have 3 RBIs on that 1 hit, but, you know, which is good.
Say my guy last name with the V, the second baseman.
Wojtek?
Yeah, Wojtek. That's my guy. I love
him.
And he went over. I seen him. He hit the cycle, I want to say a couple weeks ago.
Oh, gosh. I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, it was on Twitter, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
He hit the cycle a couple weeks ago. He's always been my guy. But see him go 0 for 4.
Yeah, that's tough.
That's tough.
Now, granted, Ole Miss is a great. We've played a lot of quality teams up to this point and have beaten some quality teams. You know, you beat Auburn once. You sweep Mississippi State in a 2-game midweek series. Like, you know, it's one of these things that, you know, like we're not playing Maryland Eastern Shore in the midweek. You know, like we're playing.
You remembered that?
Oh, I do. Yeah. We got 4 games off them. Don't worry. But yeah, it's like we're not playing those type of teams during the midweek like a lot of these other teams do to try and stack wins. Like we're putting ourselves up against the best of the best, and the SEC is the best baseball conference in the country.
Yeah.
So, you know, as they are in a lot of other sports, but that's beside the point. But next up for the Govs, they traveled to Kennesaw, Georgia to play Kennesaw State. The Owls currently sit at 13-10 on the year, coming off a series win against Florida Gulf Coast. That's a good series win. Kennesaw State's a good team, regardless of their win-loss record on the year. Kennesaw State lost to Georgia Tech last night in the midweek. I don't know. Can you pull that up? Or
I've got
maybe.
There's the standings right there.
Okay, you got the standings. Oh, yep, I see them now. Yeah. So Austin Peay sits 4th right now in the ASUN, and then right behind them, Kennesaw State. So they're actually in a tie for 4th with a lot of different teams. But, you know, it's like if you handle your business these past 2 weekends, you're undefeated in ASUN play, and you've got, you know, you're solo first in the ASUN. So
with a positive record.
Yeah.
Well, we probably would have been 26, 20 and 4 or something like that.
On the year.
On the year.
Nah, we'd still have double-digit losses just from like. Just from the teams that we've played like early in the season and like the midweek matchups, but. Yeah, I mean, you know, you're looking
easy 20 wins though.
Yeah.
Okay.
If not, you know, 18, 19, somewhere around there. But yeah, so I will
say that they do have, like you mentioned earlier, they have the next meeting against Kennesaw State coming up, starting I believe tomorrow to Saturday. But then after that, at a quick stop in Evansville, they then have a really good chance right here to like push forward in the pack because they have Bellarmine in a 3-game series, and they have only won 1 game on the year.
Need this.
Yeah.
So that is as much of a sweep as you can get right there if you can truly get it.
That's what I'm saying. And we all understand here, you know, being sports guys, it's like it's baseball, right? Like you're going to drop a game here, you're going to drop a game there. As long as you can win series 2 out of 3, you know, like you're going to be in a good spot. But it's when you play teams like Queens and when you play teams like Bellarmine is when you really have to lock in and win 3 games. You know, doesn't matter how you do it, you just got to win 3 games, especially when you're playing teams like that.
So what's the ideal series win? Are we looking for a 2-0? Are we settling for a 2-0 against Kennesaw, or you think we can take the 3-0 straight to the crib?
If it's a team like Kennesaw, you have to just straight up win the series. If it's against a team,
so we're
like,
not going for a certain dominance and all
well,
that.
you always are going for a certain dominance in them. If they, I think the ideal world is they sweep Kennesaw State, push them much farther back in the standings, make them 4-5 in the conference, put you at 7-2.
Correct.
And that'll put you.
If you go 2-1 in this, still fine. It's not necessarily amazing, but it's still completely
progress.
up to you. Yeah,
it's
and
progress.
then it's kind of like what my dad always tells me when it comes to baseball: just keep winning the series.
Yeah.
You can sweep is a fine. Losing 2 of the games isn't ideal, but it's not the worst thing in the world.
Can't
but
get swept.
Don't get swept. Just win the series.
Right.
Doesn't matter how ugly it is. Doesn't matter how amazing you win. Just win it and move on to your next team.
I 100% agree with that right there. As long as you win, like, I know how interesting that sounds, but or just how bland that sounds, but just win games.
Yeah, because it's a long game.
Mm-hmm.
It's a long.
Yeah, no doubt about
27 innings sometimes. That's a long time.
Yeah, seriously.
I still remember that Astros and Mariners series back 2 years ago, where it was just 17 total innings, no runs until the top of the 17th.
I'd be asking for my money back at that point. At a Major League Baseball game,
17 innings.
Yeah.
Give me my money back.
Yep.
But real quick, so that series will be up this weekend. So I think it'll be on ESPN Plus. So definitely go out there and check out the games. The guys deserve a lot of support because they're a good baseball team. They have an opportunity to do something really special with this season, and they've already gotten off to a really good start. So we're excited about that. But real quick, before we move on to softball, I want to do a quick social media reader. It'll pop up here on the screen, I believe. But it's at APSU Crunchtime on both Twitter and Instagram. We try and post there at least, once a week, maybe once or twice a week whenever we can get around to it. But that's at APSU Crunchtime on Twitter and Instagram. So give us a follow on the socials. We'd really appreciate it. And follow along with us on our journey. So let's get right into Austin Peay softball. We have a little bit to talk about this, but the Lady Gov softball team are holders of a 1 win in the last 7 games played. This past weekend accounted for their only win in the past 7 games, stealing the first game off of the series from Central Arkansas. UCA went on to win the next 2 games and take the series win. The Lady Govs currently hold a 2-7 record in conference play and 14-15 overall, which sits them at the bottom of the league, tied with 3 teams. So what's our first initial reaction to that? A lot different than the baseball team. Let's just say that. But
Funny thing is, they're the exact opposite of the baseball team. It's not really the pitching and defense that's the problem for them. It's the offense.
Yep.
If you're looking at all 7 of from that game against Ohio State to North Florida to Middle Tennessee to Central Arkansas, as far as I can tell, the most runs they gave up was against Ohio State, where they lost 5-7. Outside of that, gave up 1 run, you gave up 3 runs, you gave up 5 runs, you gave up 1 run, you gave up 2 runs, 5 runs, 3 runs, while you only scored in opposite order 2, 4, 4, 0, 2, 2, 0, 5. What?
That's a tough series. That's a tough series of numbers.
Yeah, your offense for some reason is not rolling. Yeah. And whether it is because they're just in a bases loaded situation in with no outs and can't get it done, whether it is they have a runner on second and immediately with 2 outs, it's just something's not clicking.
Yeah, they don't. The games I have watched, they don't capitalize on runners on third. They leave 2 second and third always empty. And then I've seen 3 games. They've had at least 4 bases loaded situations, and that's gonna put pressure on any player at the plate. I've never played baseball. I've always been a spectator, but I could feel the tension, bases loaded, no matter what inning it is. So I'm not mad at them for not capitalizing, but at some point, make the pitcher work. Do an 8 count pitch set. In that at bat right there, make them work. Yeah. So that way, if you got extra out, somebody behind you can get an easy easy little hit off the pitcher being fatigued in that little set right there. So I mean, we got to find a way. But they right there though. That's the thing. They right there, so they can get over the hump.
Yeah, and you know, we've talked about this, but you know, it's early in the season. You know, we're harping on these athletes for not doing what they're supposed to do and giving them praise when they do what they're supposed to do. But you know, it's so early in the season, and with a sport like both baseball and softball, you know, teams can get hot at the right time, and teams can rattle off a bunch of wins and get a bunch of series wins in a row. So you know, I don't think we hit the panic button quite yet. But if they keep on the trajectory that they are, not scoring runs, which is the way you win these type of games, then you know it's going to be a long season for the Lady Govs. But what the baseball team and the softball team have similar is they've played really tough competition out of conference, like really tough. They played Boise State, Houston. These are all losses, by the way. They played Boise State, Houston, Boise State again, LSU, Houston, Kansas. They've played St. Louis, who's pretty solid at baseball. They lost to him twice. They actually beat Lipscomb. Let's see if I keep scrolling down here. Ohio State.
They played Akron, Rhode Island, Bradley, Ohio State, North Florida, Tennessee, then Central Arkansas to lead up to a series starting tomorrow against Bellarmine.
Yeah, so it's one of those things that like while the baseball team has capitalized on playing a lot of those quality opponents, it's kind of almost done the reverse effect for the softball team where it's like, gosh, you know, like we've dropped all these games to teams that, you know, if we do make a push into a regional, we're going to have to play, and we're getting beat 0-11.
Yeah. But you know, one thing, I think we talked about it last week, it's been weird with them. Like, they get a bunch of rain delays, cancellations.
How many games have they had canceled already?
Yeah, they've had a lot. So, like, that can mess with you. You know, rhythm, you know, sometimes it's like, do we even need to play sometimes? Are we going to play? You don't know if you're going to have a game that day because it's been raining in Clarksville for a week and a half straight.
They've had 4 canceled games already.
And I think they had those games all with like a 2-week span, something like that.
Yeah, 3 of them were almost back-to-back-to-back, and then the one against Akron. Everything else has been seemingly played on time, or at least on the same day.
Yeah. That's 4 games right there that could have maybe gave you some momentum or something. Could have pushed you in the right direction to some, but you don't even get those games counted towards momentum, at least towards team morale or something. So
and
that kind of sucks.
And they were 3 winnable games too. That's the most disheartening part about it. It's not like, you know, you got rained out against LSU. Oh shoot, you know, we got rained out against LSU. But while the girls, you know, do want to play teams like that, but it's like, you know, you had Houston Christian that got or Houston Baptist, whatever they call it, got rained out. That's a winnable game right there.
You had Evansville that got rained out. You had Miami that got rained out. However, they did end up facing them the next day and got a very nice word done to them on that one.
They got beat pretty good.
Then, funny enough, they went up against Evansville the very next later on that day and won 7-1. These were winnable games that they could have had, and it's kind of like what Dylan said earlier. The time change at when the games are done completely messes with you. Like, you could have the pitcher all ready to go beforehand, then rains out. She's now got to wait another couple of days to start actually pitching again, and then you've lost your ace. You lost the person you were going to have, and now have to just start throwing an entirely new plan together. Yeah, granted, that happens for the other team as well, right. But it didn't seem to matter as much to Miami, but it seemingly mattered against Evansville.
Yeah, and the thing about the difference between softball and baseball is I'm sure a lot of you people listening to this or know this already, but you know, with baseball, you can't pitch multiple days in a row. Yeah. You know, and you really can't throw more than about 110 pitches consistently throughout a season, or you know, throughout a game. But you know, with softball, it doesn't really matter. You know, you could have the same pitcher throw 2 out of the 3 games, or even all 3.
I did not know.
Yeah, it's because it's just not as hard on your arms and ligaments.
That makes sense, though.
And, you know, Austin Peay returned the A-Sun Pitcher of the Year in Jordan Benefield last year. So
I was going to say, I think it has something to do with, like, the motion, because when you're throwing baseball, you're having basically your entire arm like whipped forward while
and then they start
going
from
like
here.
underhill.
More body, I guess, with softball.
That makes sense. It make a lot of sense. I just never knew that.
Yeah, so when you have one stud pitcher in softball, that means a lot more than having just one stud in baseball. Yeah, it's an absolute workhorse. So I think she's.
And that was Benefiel last year. She was the one that you basically counted on to go. The one that you counted on to go maybe multiple games in a row, and you lost her. I think they lost her for a good portion of this year, right?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
She came back earlier.
Yeah, she struggled a little bit with injury from the off season, but I think she's back now. So maybe that gets them on the right track, or something to that effect. But like you just mentioned, next up for the Lady Govs, Bellarmine comes to town for a 3-game series Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Go out and watch that. The ladies deserve y'all's support. Bellarmine sits right around the bottom of the conference with the Govs, so it's a perfect get-right game get-right series for the girls. Bellarmine sits at 11-17 with only 3 wins in conference play. So
we both teams need to step it up.
Yeah. Both teams need to step. Like I said, it's a perfect get-right series for the Lady Govs. So we'll see what happens. But
are you sure Benefiel's been out for a long time?
I mean that's what I heard from maybe not a long time, but that's what a couple of the softball players were just saying to me. But what's it look like on your end?
It says that she's played 19 of the 31 games right now.
Okay, so
12. Well, I mean that would mean that she was out for a small portion.
A nice little month and a half.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So a small portion of the season,
crucial enough.
But still, I mean that plays into your stamina. That plays into because you're not thinking you're going to be out, right? So you're doing everything you're supposed to do to get your body right. In the right space to be able to pitch that many games, for the season. And then if something happens, your stamina goes back down. You got to build up build back up to that level.
It's all
it is. Yeah.
It's all a game.
Yep.
So, but yeah, I take it she's going to pitch at least two of the 3 games this series, more than likely.
I think they have to have her pitch multiple games this series. Like they've just got to get
in rhythm. Yeah, got to get that rhythm badly.
Yeah.
Right now, that like I said, like what was mentioned earlier, they're in kind of a rut. They need Jordan Benefiel to go in and pitch
I think what they need put my wig on, grab my bat, and let me get out there.
Nobody want
I give it the baseball team too. I could have got 4 runs. Y'all don't think I could have got 4 runs?
Nope.
Hey, look.
I don't honestly.
I'm a bunt god, man. Speed right out of there. I was going
to joke going like you could go 4 feet.
But you could go 4 feet, but not 400
I get 4 runs, bro. Speed kills.
Speed does kill.
Yeah.
But, that's a bold take from Walton over here.
Bunt, run.
Dude, you act like they're not coming off the mound, turning, pitching it to first, and you're out. You're literally out.
Have you not checked my 40-yard dash?
I do, but dude, it's longer than well, no, I mean whatever.
I'm telling you, bro.
I think it's just a bit shorter than a 40-yard dash.
Yeah, it is a bit shorter, but still, let's not act like we're, we've got a 2.3 second down the line. My gosh,
bro, I can get it.
All right, I mean I believe you, but
they got to catch me.
All right.
I'm
like
pretty
your
sure that's what's normal.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They got to catch me, though. They ain't seen me.
I like your confidence, but, buddy, on that note, we're going to move on because that's bold. That is absolutely so bold that you said that.
I can get 1 base.
But the Austin Peay women's soccer team, they have played. Dude, yeah. The women's soccer team has played 5 games during this portion of the year. They normally play in the spring. But they play kind of like 5 games in the spring to kind of get it going, or they normally play in the fall. I think I said spring, but yeah, they normally play in the fall. But now they've played 5 games in the spring, and they have not lost any of them. They tied to Murray State 1-1. They beat MTSU 4-0, and then they beat Belmont 1-0 the other night. So they play at Tennessee Tech on April 6th, and then home against Lipscomb, who's a really good team, April 17th. So they're looking to get 5 games right here. You go through 5 games in soccer and you don't lose one. That's a good. That's a good.
You take that.
Yeah. Oh, you'll take that any day. You'll take 3 and 2 in soccer, honestly.
Yeah, soccer's hard. I covered my first soccer game a couple weeks ago. I gained a different level of respect for soccer athletes. Kicking and running with the ball
Oh my gosh!
is not as easy.
And you play 90 minutes. I mean, you literally play all 90 minutes.
Yeah, you just run up and down.
That's what I'm saying. And you might get a sub, but if you get a sub, you're not going back into the game.
Yeah, for a minute.
Yeah.
I would be a goalie easily.
And speaking of goalie, their goalie has been doing really well this season. Only one goal allowed, and that was in the tie against Murray State. The other two games just shut out Middle Tennessee and Belmont. While the offense hasn't been amazing outside of the Middle Tennessee game, the other two, the goalie, the defense has been pretty good. Like, just in general, just pretty good.
Yeah.
We can't be too mad at that. It seemed like defense is a key thing for our Austin Peay teams. Football defense was legit. The baseball defense is not too bad. Pitching is more so the problem, but the defense is not bad. Softball women got it on lock.
That's right.
Look at our girls in the soccer. I mean, Clamp City, seatbelt. We're a seatbelt school. I was gonna say seatbelt game, but we're a seatbelt school.
Seatbelt school.
Yeah, everything locked
Lock
up.
them up.
Everything
Lock
locked up.
No, yeah, it's I think that's kind of the philosophy that the soccer coach takes into how they play the game.
Yeah.
That's kind of her mindset is like, okay, if we can, offense will come later down the line. If we can stop people from scoring or stop people from getting those scoring opportunities and shots on goal, then, because obviously how do you win a soccer game? You score the soccer ball in the goal, right? So if you can eliminate that aspect, your offense doesn't have to be as good on the front end. Yeah. And so, I mean, that's what we've seen so far, and it's panned out. Other than the MTSU game, which I guess we just played a phenomenal brand of soccer in that one. It's we've been held to one goal.
And it's a welcome sight after last season where they only scored 19 total goals on the season, but they gave up 37. So knowing that the soccer team already is doing miles better, at least defense and goalie-wise, they is already a much more welcome sight than last year. Yeah. I think I saw they had a grand total of 210 shots in the entire season, well, 358 total shots for the other teams.
Wow. Yeah. But yeah, I mean that's an alarming stat. Yeah. But the good part about it is it looks like we're getting in the right, back into the right direction. So
it's an alarming stat offensively, but it's definitely when you think about how far they've come from last year.
It's really good. It's really good. But like I said before, they're at Tennessee Tech on April 6th, and they're home against Lipscomb on April 17th. So everybody show up to that Lipscomb game. If you want to make the trek to Cookeville, Tennessee, go for it. I'm not going to do that. Not because of the soccer, but because it's Cookeville, Tennessee. I'll be honest. So we're excited to see what they've got going on. But before we get out of here, let's talk some spring football. The Govs are in a new era of football under Coach Jeff Ferris. They're about halfway done with their allotted days of spring practice, but they got some bad news the other day. Mm-hmm. Starting middle linebacker, who we were actually going to have on the podcast, and team leader Sam Howard decided to enter his name into the transfer portal and go elsewhere. Howard accounted for 105 tackles, 1 sack, and 1 fumble recovery in his junior season, and he is just the latest in a slew of governors to enter the transfer portal, as one should expect with a coaching change and how good we were, that those players can play at the next level. There's no doubt about that. We wouldn't have been as good as we were if they couldn't. Yep. So,
and one thing about this, if someone is watching this and sees like these numbers, isn't that a season hears these numbers and thinks, oh wow, they're not like as impressive. You have to realize he didn't really start until this year. Correct. And he was a monster this year.
Yeah, he was.
He
was a freak of nature, bro.
Like as it says right there, in his first actual year of starting, he's on the first team All UAC. Just he was so much better than what anyone could have realistically thought, especially him coming out from being a more backup role to a starter.
Yeah, we're going to miss him.
Yeah, we are. And I'll never forget, before we get out of here, I'll tell this story. I remember freshman year, me and him came in together, and we stayed on the same floor as the football players, golfers and football players. I got in the elevator, one of my first days on campus, And I was like, I mean, he's like 6'4",
Yeah, he is a big
chiseled,
guy.
like 230. Like this guy's massive.
Yeah.
And I'm a big guy myself. I'm about 6'3", 230 myself. But like he's a different kind of 230 than I am. Let's just be honest here. And like
230 of muscle.
exactly, but he's the nicest guy in the world.
Yeah.
So he's the nicest guy. But that'll do it here for Crunch Time. I want to give a thanks to Doc V for letting us use the studio, David Ellison, Steve Sawyer, Isabella Christensen, and Paige Hearn back there making the show run. And that'll do it for us on Crunch Time.